everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestling Huddle. I'm Mike Brown, Sports Editor Review, joined by our wrestling guru, Bob Steer. Bob, I don't know if we could top week one last week. There were some great matches, and let's talk about them a little bit. Let's talk about Marlington and West Branch.
Yeah, without a doubt, the one of the biggest matches in this area in a long time ended up being with Marlington pulling off. I mean, you have to call it an upset. When a team's been unbeaten 8 straight years, you have to call that an upset. And certainly in Marlington's mind, I don't think it was an upset.
Sure.
But, they were expecting to challenge and compete and possibly win coming in. But certainly a big win for their program, for Kurt Hamilton and all the kids there. I think... I'm sure they're hoping this is going to be a springboard because it is only the first week of the season. There's a long way to go, and they have some challenges ahead. But certainly a big win for them, and we'll see if they can use this momentum. We'll see how they come out tomorrow night.
Right. It was a great atmosphere last week for that match, was it not?
It was fantastic. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was literally, it seemed like wall to wall. Both stands were packed. It was one of the loudest gyms I've ever been in for a wrestling match. And, and the way they do things there, too, with the floodlights just on the mat. Yeah. I know not everyone likes that, but it does give it a different feel. It gives it that main event type feel. So it was fun. It was a fun atmosphere. And Hamilton said it in the paper, I believe, that, or at least he said it at different times. Yeah. Our kids don't realize how lucky they have it. And, wrestling in an area like this, some kids will go through their entire career. They could even wrestle in college and never wrestle in an atmosphere with a crowd like that.
Absolutely.
We really are blessed in this area, and our local kids are, too.
Yeah. This year in particular, the NBC, you can take 4 or 5 teams that are just loaded. It should be a great league race this year.
It really should. What it's going to come down to is, I think at this point, who can beat Carrollton. I think they, just coming into the season, it was expected that they would be the top dog to challenge West Branch. Now that Marlington has knocked off West Branch, now all eyes are going to be on Marlington-Carrollton. To see if Marlington can knock off the preseason, I'd say, slight favorite in the Warriors from Carroll County. But Marlington certainly showed that they were up to the task last week, and I wouldn't bet against them.
Right, sure. Well, let's talk about some of the matchups this week. Obviously, it would be hard to top the week 1 matchups from last week, but really, this week you've got Minerva going to Marlington Thursday night. Do you look at that as the top NBC match this week?
I think that is the best matchup as far as the two teams. Minerva, I think I mentioned it last week. I don't know that they have the top to bottom depth of talent that they've had in some years, but they have some talented kids. There's no question about it. They're very well coached, and they're gonna come up and they're gonna give Marlington a challenge. It'll be interesting to see how Marlington reacts to coming off the big win.
Right, sure.
And I know Coach Hamilton mentioned they had the Marlington Duels this past weekend, and he felt they were a little flat. Now that was the day after.
Sure.
They've had a few days to settle down. But it'll still be interesting to see how they come out Thursday night.
Yeah. Do you see one key matchup in that match, Bob?
One that really jumps out is a potential matchup at 160 with Tony Rupert and Dalton Hartshorn.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
2 terrific seniors.
Yeah.
Both, Hartshorn's a 2-time state qualifier. Rupert was down there last year.
Right.
Both have high expectations coming into this year. I hope we get to see that one. I hope there's no bumping around. I hope those two get to clash. And that would be fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Then also Thursday night we have the Canton South Wildcats going to West Branch. West Branch will be looking to bounce back from a rare loss last week.
It's going to be real interesting to see how West Branch responds, to their first loss. And, I was thinking about it. Some of these freshmen on the team this year were in kindergarten. The last time West Branch lost a wrestling match. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. I think this is a match that they should win. But you still want to come out, and I'm sure Coach Brown is going to expect them to come out and make a statement. That, last week's over, we've put it behind us, we're moving forward.
Right. Any individual match in that one, Bob, you look forward to?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but looking at the weights from last week from Canton South, a good one could be at 160 again with Logan Nagy from West Branch, a good senior against a young man, Cord Moore from Canton South. I believe he's a sophomore, and but I know he's a talented kid, so that would be an entertaining match if it happens.
Right. And then the third match this week in the NBC for our area teams, the Alliance Aviators go to Salem to take on the Quakers.
Alliance is unbeaten, and we said coming in that Alliance was the real deal this year.
Yeah.
And they haven't had a stiff test yet, but you can only wrestle who's in front of you, and they've defeated everyone in front of them. I expect that to continue this week.
Right.
Salem's still struggling, and I think this will be another victory for the Aviators.
Yeah. Any key match in that one?
Yeah, I mean Salem has a couple. Even though their program is not hasn't turned it around yet, they do have some talented individuals. One of them is Cade Byland, who's going to be in that 160 range, I think. So you could see Spencer Nagy or Christian Jackson, either one of those two talented aviators matching up with Byland. So that could be. It looks like all three of the matches to watch are going to be 160 this week.
Yeah,
but,
wow, that's amazing. It really is. And then we've got some wrestling teams in action this weekend. I understand West Branch is going to the North Canton tournament. Is that a first for the Warriors, Bob?
This is the first year they'll be attending the North Canton Invitational, and it is it's a challenging tournament. There are some very good teams. One of the top teams from West Virginia, Huntington, comes up here, and a lot of the top local area teams. I can't even start to think off the top of my head, but there's a load of talented teams there. So, it's going to be a good challenge for the Warriors.
Right. And then Alliance is involved in action this weekend. Looks like the Aviators are going to go to the Liberty Duels, I believe.
Yep, that's on the schedule.
Yep.
Honestly, don't know anything about the Liberty the Liberty event over there. But, again, the Aviators they're doing what they have to do because they have a lot of young kids.
Sure.
So you want to get off to a start like this when you have a young team. And they do have some veterans, too. They have some good veteran leadership, but they have a lot of youngsters in the lineup. So this, I think Coach Shaw couldn't have scripted it any better as far as getting off to a good start, getting those kids some confidence, some good varsity experience before they hit the tougher part of their schedule.
Right. Well, it should be a fun week again, just like last week. So tune in again next week for next week's edition of the Wrestling Huddle. For Bob Steer, this is Mike Brown.